Good morning. And welcome to those on a live stream. Dear and welcome to Transforming Construction, Foundations for the Future. The construction sector was stuck in a system that didn't work well for anyone, from the supply chain through to clients and even those using buildings. The system had evolved to produce the cheapest building rather than the one that provided the greatest value over its lifetime. The Transforming Construction Challenge was established in 2018 to accelerate the transition away from a labour-intensive approach to constructing buildings. It came with the largest investment in the sector by UK government in a generation, and a powerful shared vision of how the sector could better deliver buildings in a way that helped all of society, providing value over the lifetime of built assets, benefiting people using those buildings. Pioneers in construction collaborated with experts in manufacturing, digital and energy to develop new approaches. Build processes from supply chain through to site were standardised, so the system operated more like a factory, bringing greater efficiency and greater accuracy. Digital tools were adopted to better share information and track processes, to reduce wasteful steps. Renewable energy technologies were integrated into buildings to make them net zero, and part of the solution rather than the source of emissions. The ecosystem to support this transformation has been put in place through an unprecedented collaboration between government and industry. Government procurement has changed to embrace new methods and provide the same global leadership it had in adopting building information modelling. The systems and evidence of success are now in place to deliver buildings and infrastructure 50% faster, more safely, at a third lower lifetime cost, and with lifetime emissions halved or even fully net zero, all the while eliminating the construction productivity gap with the rest of the economy and increasing exports.
Successes have been demonstrated across a range of building types. AIMCH is building more homes 52% faster than the industry average with the same skilled workforce and at a similar cost.
So our Sigma 2 closed panel system is pre-insulated in the factory, windows are factory fitted, the floor cassettes are pre-finished, and we have a ground direct roof system. The ground direct roof system is currently built on the deck beforehand. It's a structural timber system that's then lifted up. Through the project we're looking at innovations including demountable roof beams and pre-tiling the roof in the future, so we can tile it, put the fascia and soffit, and then lift the whole roof as one single module on wind and watertight, ideally without scaffolding.
The team led by Bristol City Council and YTKO have built Hope Rise, net zero carbon homes built over a car park for young people at risk of homelessness.
It's a beautiful, spacious, peaceful place to live, and everybody that walks past is amazed and inspired about what can be done.
It's awesome here. We've got solar panels, we've got an airflow kind of heating system that's capturing the kind of excess heat air and pumping it around the house.
The Active Building Centre is transforming construction and energy sectors by demonstrating and advancing best practice net zero carbon technology for active buildings, including a development with Flintshire County Council, meeting net zero at no extra cost.
It's 20 new social housing homes and they want them to be net zero carbon.
In terms of clean energy, you've got ways to capture the energy, heat pumps, solar panels and so forth. You've got ways to store energy for when the sun isn't shining or the wind's not blowing. And then you've got control systems to make sure that you send the energy to the best possible place.
Global Home are leading the way in increasing productivity and quality in mass home building. These homes can not only improve lives now, but adapt to the lifestyles of households as they change and grow. The Forge, the world's first net zero carbon kit of parts office.
So this project really became, if you like, a focus for our innovation and innovative thinking in the way that we need to design and develop buildings going forward.
At the heart of this strategy is the kit of parts approach to buildings, or what we call a platform design for manufacture and assembly approach.
In the process of optimising the structure for the building, we've been able to minimise the use of materials, which has led to a significant reduction in embodied carbon.
The Department for Education has partnered with innovators to collectively invest £4 million in Gen Zero, transforming school buildings, creating new, improved design standards, which in turn reduce emissions and improve well-being for pupils and staff. Seismic brought together major supply chain players to standardise the design for steel framework used to construct schools. Seismic is delivering a 52% reduction in assembly time, digital designs taking minutes rather than weeks, and a 25% reduction in emissions associated with transport and materials.
Traditionally, an architect will be employed to try and produce a feasibility study in line with area and adjacency requirements set by the Department for Education. This app seeks to pre-embed those area and adjacency requirements in the form of spatial design clusters.
TIES is delivering physical and digital demonstrators and data tools, improving productivity for the construction of transport infrastructure. The TIES Ava Footbridge approach will reduce embodied carbon content by up to 50% and operational energy emissions by up to 60%. The challenge addressed improvements across all phases of construction. The production control room provides construction teams with 50% more information, reducing daily briefings by 2.5 hours a week and resulting in a 40% reduction of time spent for planners. Reporting can now be produced at the click of a button, saving as much as 10 days on large construction projects. Product-based building solutions streamlines the end-to-end project delivery process with a physically and digitally configurable kit of parts. It catalogues facades, structures, and mechanical and electrical elements, which can all integrate to form complete buildings. It means designers can not only select the best individual parts, but can make data-driven decisions about which components work best with each other and are most effective and efficient to assemble. The PBBS project has seen a 40% reduction of lead time in the manufacturing phase against an original target to reduce on-site building time by 30%. And the learning camera, a camera monitoring system that learns to spot dangerous or suboptimal situations across a site, freeing up workers to concentrate on the task in hand. It also enables continuous remote monitoring. Hyperpile uses a hollow and impression pile design and lightweight, cement-free concrete to provide the same shaft-bearing capacity with fewer piles or narrower piles. The pile incorporates smart technology to monitor performance and integrate renewable technologies. Hyperpile reduces materials and emissions by up to 80% and improves on-site productivity. The Transforming Construction Network Plus united academic researchers with industry and policy representatives to tackle the most pressing problems across the digital, energy, construction and manufacturing space.
We're looking at a step change in knowledge and mindset and breadth of attitude, if you like, within our sector.
The Construction Innovation Hub brings together world-class expertise from the Manufacturing Technology Centre, BRE, and the Centre for Digital Built Britain.
Value is key to unlocking the transformation of our sector. How we use it and how fast we can go requires all of you to play your part.
The Construction Playbook and Transforming Infrastructure Performance Roadmap to 2030 are examples of UK government policy embedding this transformation.
The results of projects Transforming Construction have supported are being applied on over £14 billion worth of developments, with the pipeline taking this over £25 billion in a few years. The shift away from delivering the cheapest building to providing value to society is accelerating. How do we keep this transformation going? We call on the sector to publicly commit to platform systems, data-driven processes, and net zero innovation, embedding the impact of this unprecedented collaboration between government and industry will place construction as the exemplar in building back greener and better. Thank you to those of you who have been part of this challenge. And if you haven't yet, how can you be?
Thank you. We're very, very proud to say that there's absolutely no stock footage whatsoever in that 10-minute video. That's all from the projects that you have helped us support or you have delivered yourselves across the Transforming Construction Challenge. That video, some people on the live stream, I think it was a bit slow for them. If you want to go and watch that again, you can go to our website now at ukri.org/TCC. You can see the video there. You can also see the other things we're talking about today that were released. We're making available both the project's brochure, which details every investment we made, the impact report we'll talk about later, and a link through to our stories catalogue, where you can hear the story behind every single investment that we made and the results to date. My name is Mike Pitts. I'm the Deputy Challenge Director for Transforming Construction. It's my pleasure to be here today to keep us on time and on track. Please do take to social media, use the hashtag Transforming Construction, and tweet. Put anything you can out, pictures, the works, tell us what you think. In a moment, you're going to hear a bit more about the impact and legacy of the Transforming Construction Challenge from our really distinguished speakers. We'll then have a panel session. So please do put your questions forward to us through the day. Those in the room will have to kind of catch my eye. Those of you online, you can put them in the Q&A box on the Zoom channel there. If you've got general questions, put those in as well. Don't leave today without having your questions answered. We've got a team over here answering those generalised questions. Anything you want to know, we will answer it there, or we will try to answer it in the panel, or we will follow up with you afterwards. The event will end with a tour of the facilities for those who are here, at the Construction Innovation Hub facilities here at MTC. For those online, you don't miss out. As soon as we finish here, we'll flip straight to a virtual video tour of those same facilities, and you can learn about the manufacturing equipment that are in place here and how that's being applied to construction processes. But as we said, the Transforming Construction Challenge was part of the construction sector deal, and it was crucial to delivering government plans about the way public buildings and infrastructure will be procured and planned for in future. To start, to provide us with a government perspective on transforming construction, our first speaker today is Lee Rowley MP. Lee holds the government posts of Government Whip, Lord Commissioner of HM Treasury and Parliamentary Under-Secretary for the Department for Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy. It's that latter role includes being responsible for the construction sector, and we're delighted you could join us here today, Lee, to give a few words. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. It's great to be here today, and it's great to see you all. It is not that often these days that we get to talk to real people in a real place, and it's so wonderful to be able to do that. One of my first visits as Construction Minister was to the MTC a number of months ago, and thank you again for hosting me. So it's lovely to be back again, and to be back on such an exciting day when we get to celebrate some of the successes which the construction industry is demonstrating and has shown, and see the foundations for a fantastic opportunity which the entire industry can take based on what the Transforming Construction Challenge has offered. The government wants the UK to have the most efficient, technologically advanced green construction sector in the world. And it is through initiatives like this that we are able to take huge steps towards achieving that over the long term. And when UKRI and Innovate UK began the Transforming Construction Challenge in 2018, they were tasked with revolutionising the industry. And through the challenge, we have accelerated industry modernisation towards this aim, reducing the whole life cost of buildings whilst increasing the sector's productivity and sustainability. So the first thing I want to say as the Construction Minister, and being very proud to be here on behalf of government today, is thank you for everything you have done over such a long time to make this possible. You have demonstrated with your teams and your commitment and your initiative and your resolve, you have shown a journey, a way forward, which allows this industry to continue to transform in the years ahead, on top of all of the fantastic things that we have already seen on the video. So the first and most important thing I want to say is thank you. And Sam and I were just talking before we started, and he said to me, change is difficult, but we're up for change. And that is one of the most important things that we can take from challenges like this and from initiatives like this. I used to be, when I had a proper job, I used to be a change manager in industry. And so for 15 years, I spent that time understanding all of the kind of different challenges and opportunities and things that you saw, albeit in a different sector. But the point about change is universal. It is that it can be difficult, it is that it can be challenging. But if we can get it right, and if we can show people the journey about what it can achieve, then we can take whole sectors, whole industries, whole countries on a journey that we never could have imagined. And that's what the TCC has done. It's brought the construction, manufacturing, technology and academic sectors and government together to start creating a new model for construction. That new model requires new techniques and new skills. The Construction Innovation Hub and its constituent parts, the MTC, Building Research Establishment and the Centre for Digital Built Britain, is the UK's centre of expertise and the catalyst and leader for the platform production approach to building. The Hub is supporting delivery of the Construction Playbook, which brings a more collaborative and strategic relationship between government and industry and sets the rules for how government will procure its infrastructure in future. And for the first time, whole of life value, kind of thing we were just talking about, or was just being talked about on the video, and the value to end users and to society are now important considerations in the design and the delivery of public buildings. The TCC's impact will be felt across the whole of government, as its innovations and approaches will ensure our schools, our hospitals, our prisons, and lots of public buildings are fit for the future. That is, that they are high performing, that they are good quality, they are value for money, they are safe, and they are energy efficient. And you are showing the way in how to do that. Many companies are investing already and partnering in TCC projects to pilot digital and manufacturing technologies for wider industry adoption. For example, the world's first augmented reality hard hat and digital apps to aggregate, track, and monitor data from supply chains to site processes. The TCC is also stimulating greater R&D in construction, leading by example by funding over 50 R&D industry-led demonstrator projects. And these projects have set a precedent. They are helping to take the risk out of innovation and promoting the benefits of greater R&D investment that we hope will become the norm in construction. TCC projects such as Hope Rise, which again was spoken about, and the Panel House demonstrate how technology and manufacturing can combine to produce quick-to-build, low-cost, net-zero housing. And TCC projects have demonstrated that the targets that originally set are achievable. That is to revolutionise UK construction and to make ours the most efficient, technologically advanced green construction sector in the world. Whether it be the Forge, which was talked about a moment ago, resulting in a 14% increase in productivity, a 10% reduction in capital costs, a 15% shorter build time, and 73% savings, potential savings on energy use, or the Hyperpile, again, which was spoken about, a 47% reduction in carbon emissions and a 20% increase in productivity, or the advanced industrial methods for the construction of housing, a 52% decrease in build time and a 30% increase in output. And they may be numbers, but they have real life implications for your sector, and they have real life implications for the benefit which society on a wider basis can achieve. So it's projects like this that have laid the groundwork for industry change. So the message from me today is thank you for everything you have done through the Transforming Construction Challenge. Thank you for what you have achieved, and thank you for laying the foundations of the success in future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lee. So, Transforming Construction is one of several challenges that make up the Industrial Strategy Challenge Fund that's been led from Innovate UK. To offer us a perspective on challenge-led innovation as an approach, I'm delighted to introduce the Innovate UK CEO, Indra Mukherjee, today. Indra is a highly experienced technology executive and business leader with a track record of leading innovation and technology commercialization at businesses of all sizes across the world, from publicly listed and multinational corporations to new venture and private equity-backed companies. Indra, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Well, good morning, everybody, and good morning, everybody online. I'm so pleased to be here. I really am proud of our team. I'm so proud to see what's been achieved with this project. I'm so proud to see the community that's been built up all together, including all of you and all the people online. And I'm so proud to see the classy energy that was depicted by that video that we all saw. And I really think that this is a fantastic example of real innovation challenge work in practice. Innovate UK is the UK's innovation agency, and we work to support the innovation journey for businesses across all sectors and all places of the UK. We support that journey by collaboration. We support that journey by having great people who have both industry experience and research experience in our community that can work with a number of partners across the entire spectrum. And through this work, we can make a difference to the UK. This is actually a very good time for innovation in the UK. This is a very good time for innovation to go towards commercialisation and economic reality. The government launched its innovation strategy, launched by the Space Secretary of State last July. Innovate UK followed up with a plan for action to implement that strategy, which we launched last November. And if anybody can take a look, it's online, Google Innovate UK Plan for Action. And in that, we make a number of very, very clear statements as to how we will support the innovation journey for and with UK business. And this is done through having projects like this spread across all of the different areas that we work on. Projects like this make a very big difference, because you can see here a sector like construction, which is a very, very ubiquitous, fundamental sector in our economy and society, which we can now make ready for the future through the work that's been done. By making it ready for the future, we make it more investable. We give more employment opportunities. And crucially, as I was discussing with Keith earlier, we have a chance to get our young people excited about coming into this important sector. This is such an important part for us. Building the future economy is really what our innovation work should lead to, and getting our young people to be able to feel excited so that we can become as self-sufficient as possible within the UK for this and other areas. The connection with other sectors, like the net zero agenda, like digital agenda, like many others, is really, really widespread across this sector. And so the opportunities for collaboration and cross-fertilisation are very significant. We're working on a number of exciting projects in the area of digital twins, national semantic maps, areas where we can digitise processes. And this gives us a huge opportunity to transform this sector and turn us into, and this is a term that's often misused, but in this case it's very appropriate, world class. Because in this sector, I think we really do have the actual situation and the potential to be truly world class in this, and to have relevance both for our economy, our society, but also huge export opportunities. So I compliment everybody involved in this programme. I compliment everybody who's worked so hard, and it's such a proud feeling for this team, and it's their day, actually, I should say, and your day, the people who've worked with this on this programme, to feel excited about what's been achieved. And I think this is something that's really, really important to all of us. I just want to conclude by saying one or two things. I think that as a nation, embracing innovation as a route to economic improvement and societal improvement is a really, really important thing for all of us to do. And all of us are pathfinders and leaders in this. We have an opportunity to harness more diverse talent and make ourselves more self-sufficient in the UK in terms of the talent base that we have. The skills and talent pipeline is essential to our future, and working together we have an opportunity to do that. And Innovate UK, we use 3 words to describe the work that we want to do: inspire, involve, and invest. We want to inspire next generations of innovators. We want to inspire today's innovators to have the confidence to go on that journey. We want to involve a broad ecosystem of many players, including yourselves. And so we involve ourselves together to create partnerships so that we can get the best out of everybody, because we have so many ingredients in the UK between the research, the scientific, and the commercialisation, all these ecosystems, the academic, everything. We've got all the ingredients in the UK. And then to invest our time, energy, and also we invest money as well through grants and loans, but also we invest in terms of advice and helping the scale-up journey. So I look forward to going through that with you, but I really want to finish off by saying my compliments again to the whole team here and the work that they've done together with this whole community, and I'm in admiration of this, and I really, really wish you all a very good day. And when you can get a chance, I had a preview of Hall 1 earlier, which I think some of you will get a chance to look at yet later. It's very inspiring. If you can imagine businesses going through there and seeing opportunities to transform themselves, it's a very exciting time to be there. So my compliments again, and very good morning to you all. Thank you.
So next is now my good friend, the challenge director himself, Sam Stacey. He's going to take us through the pain and the fun of the last 4 years. Sam joined us to lead the challenge in 2018. Before Innovate UK, Sam was Director of Innovation, Industrialisation and Business Improvement at Scansa UK, so you can see exactly why he was the right man for the job. So Sam, over to you.
Thank you very much, Mike.
Coming through? Yeah. Transforming construction is all about working together at scale. Already, our outputs are forecast to be deployed on projects worth 25 billion by 2027. These targets from the Construction 2025 strategy were considered unreasonable when we started. The Transforming Construction Challenge has, however, shown that they are more than achievable, and that the industry is quick to adopt innovation when the conditions are right. The world has changed a lot during the 4 years of the challenge, but so have we. We've made key decisions to make sure that it stays relevant. The COVID-19 pandemic led us to fund additional projects supporting recovery, but also saw demand for the challenge outputs increase. In the post-COVID world, the Transforming Construction mission was still the right one. Again and again, those businesses delivering it against it are the ones ready for the future. COP26 and the focus on net zero led us to be even more ambitious on energy performance. Net zero buildings at lowest cost was the renewed mission we gave the Active Building Centre. We also seized the opportunity to deploy and develop net zero design rules with the Department for Education on the Gen Zero project. We also worked with the Construction Leadership Council on construction targets for COP26, Construct Zero. The housing crisis was a priority for government following the 2019 general election. That immediacy meant that we needed to build more homes with the existing workforce, the key aim of our flagship AIM-CH project. We also supported multiple projects on affordable and social housing. You've already seen some of these in the video. These projects all use advanced modern methods of construction solutions to provide affordable housing. The Edema project is inspired by the Rubik's Cube and the flat pack furniture to create easy-to-assemble homes. West Midlands DFMA is delivering factory-built social housing at scale and developing new regional supply chains. Stella has created hub factories, supplying regional spokes to satisfy those areas with the highest demand using local trades. The CoLab Toolkit was developed to improve sharing of supply chain information, so housing projects are completed faster, at higher quality and at lower costs. And Project Ignite has developed a digital tendering and scheduling platform for housing associations using MNC, led by Places for People. We're proud to have developed a portfolio that is delivering some new solutions at all stages of construction. Design through build and into use. Designing for whole life value, and in particular lower carbon emissions, needs new tools that work with existing design processes. From REBA to reality looks to embed better decisions at all REBA stages to improve user productivity and reduce carbon. Digitally connected supply chains helps them see how a client wants the building to perform and suggests improvements. Cost and carbon calculator makes it easy for engineers to reduce embodied carbon in new buildings and keep costs down. And the AACE project has automated the mapping of cost and carbon into BIM models using artificial intelligence, enabling faster, better design choices. Construction projects are complex and involve data from many different sources. The challenge supported a number of projects to automate bringing data together, to use modern digital tools so projects can be better planned and faster executed. Mortar developed an end-to-end custom information hub with Mott MacDonald. DCOM has digitised and automated compliance checking. AutoBIM was developed for Balfour Beatty to make completing BIM data easier and then automatically generate insights. Site, the Change Impact Intelligence tool, integrates multiple data sets and can quickly highlight the impact of design changes across a project. 3D Repo are experts at managing data and have multiple projects in the challenge, including the AEC Delta Mobility project to safely and securely share data for collaboration and productivity, and the AEC Production Control Room, along with MACE, that is providing a single source of truth for a project. Off-site manufacture of components is opening up the opportunity to automate processes for higher productivity and lower costs. HIBIS stands for Hybrid Insulated Steel System, an off-site component system combining light gauge steel with a mineral foam called Aerium. It overcomes the challenge of achieving high fire protection on multi-storey buildings at scale. The Increasing Productivity through Off-Site Steel Modules project provided a set of design and construction prototypes to drive greater adoption. Tata Steel have led the Fast Truss demonstrator project to robotically weld steel trusses, automating their design and manufacture. Future Joinery Systems have done something similar for their bespoke joinery work, using algorithms to automate the design of complex geometries at the push of a button. And MART is a project to develop a factory and a shipping container for localised manufacture of carapace slates biocomposite roof tiles that are made using waste from Welsh slate. Advances in technology mean data on a construction site can be used to better manage flows of materials and accommodate the site conditions. So we've got the Weather Ledger, a data-enabled system that can automatically trigger weather clauses when terms are breached, avoiding contractual disputes. FairCop uses LiDAR technology to access real-time 3D data on localised wind speed and direction to maximise the productivity and safety of cranes on site. Cloudbox develops sensors fitted to trucks to avoid waste by measuring the quality of wet concrete and optimising delivery. It's being applied on HS2. Buildstream worked with Costain to demonstrate how tracking equipment across site can double productive use. One of the things they found was that people were keeping machines running just to keep the cabs warm. Skanska led the LAMP project that uses supply chain analytics to better coordinate material deliveries, minimise movements and save time. Digital tools can also be used to plan and track progress across sites. We've got Aquila, which combines 3D models of a site, scheduling plans and real-time data from the project to synchronise activity and sequence equipment use to eliminate redundancy. Plasma is a digital platform that uses digital data to map the most efficient programme to improve productivity right through the supply chain. Contilio's intelligent control room uses LiDAR, laser scans and 360-degree photos, then compares them with the BIM model to track progress and highlight errors. And One Source of Truth is a project led by BAM Nuttall to build on the Learning Camera project and automate data collection through cameras to track progress by various project partners and minimise disputes. A big part of the challenge approach is not to move construction sites into factories, but to apply manufacturing discipline at all stages, even on-site. Adaptive learning for zero defects is a tool to ensure tasks are done right first time. It adapts to users' ability for action learning on the job. Further stage is HoloSite's augmented reality hard hat. It creates a hologram of the 3D model for the user, avoiding the need to interpret 2D drawings. In a similar way, Aropka sends instructions directly to operatives who see them projected as 3D images. The headset also records video feedback for quality assurance. This is being trialled on the Hinkley C nuclear power plant. And CORE is a sensor technology from Converge that precisely measures concrete curing, speeding up projects such as the London City Airport's new taxiway. The challenge has supported research to improve energy use in buildings. Heat 3D can quickly measure energy performance of a building in 3D. Traditional methods look at single points only and can cost 10 times as much as this. This will help measure and eliminate the performance gap between how a building is designed and how it operates. We worked with BSI to produce a standard for evaluating this gap. The Active Building Centre works to make net zero buildings a reality via the capture, storage and control of clean energy. Alongside that, the Active Building Centre research programme is working with the Welsh Government on their commitment to net zero in a number of ways. Gathering data on real-world performance of carbon-reducing technologies on the 2,000 homes under the optimised Retrofit programme and the new homes under its innovative housing programme. ABC research programme is also running Behind the Meter Billing, a dynamic living lab collecting data about active buildings at community level to enable localised energy trading. So today we're handing all this information over to you. The groundwork is laid. These foundations will enable a stronger future for construction. The Transforming Construction Challenge has provided you with the methodology for value and platform approaches. It has proven and demonstrated that platform methods and active building technology can help us reach the targets that we're all after. And with government, we've shifted the procurement of public buildings. The stories and data these investments have produced are yours. Building on these foundations, we call for the sector to commit to the brighter future that we've all worked hard to make possible. Achieving the full impact requires cross-government approach to platforms, standardised assemblies and interfaces. Government suppliers and their clients using Transforming Construction Challenge outputs in line with the construction playbook to deliver the Transforming Infrastructure performance targets. So thank you to everyone here, and thanks to my amazing team, without whom this wouldn't have been possible. So thanks, everyone. It's been a great journey.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Sam. Next, we want to share with you the impact data that's been produced for the challenge independently. This is going to be presented by our innovation lead, Hannah Gibson. Hannah joined us from the Construction Industry Training Board and has led through us on skills because of that background, but also on culture change, and has worked really well. Well, she manages me nowadays really on a lot of the work we do around telling our stories better. You would have heard her voice in the video, so you can hear it again. Hannah, come on up.
Thanks, Mike. Hi, everybody. Indeed, you will have heard my voice in the video. We didn't pay Stacey Dooley to do that. That was something I did for free. Today am going to canter through some slides and some graphs to really entice you to read this report for yourself. It's 250 pages, so you'll thank me for summarising it in 10 minutes, but really encourage you to take a full look at this external report. So this has been published for the first time today and has been completed by Frontier Economics and BMG. We've worked with them really early on in the challenge and have gathered, I'm just going to start again now. And we've got just an early indication of data from the impact of the challenge. This rather complicated looking logic model is how we have gathered that data and the assessments that Frontier Economics and BMG have used. So our benefits data, which you hear us talk about a lot, are based on this, and Frontier Economics' research was done via a combination of survey and expert panels. But what I hope you'll see is that the previous slide and this one, in terms of the themes and the headings, are what we have based our assessment on. And I really hope what you'll also see is that when we were devising this with Frontier Economics, we really chose measures to help us understand the degree and the extent of real-world take-up of these concepts. So, we sought to increase and improve collaboration between construction, the energy, digital and manufacturing sectors, as well as with academia and government. And what we found from Frontier Economics' report was that collaboration has been higher for those that were successful in applying for funding. We did seek wider engagement, for example, through the Transforming Construction Network Plus and the Future of Consultancy programme with the ACE. We knew from the start that to be successful, we needed to see that real-world application of TCC concepts. And for this to happen, procurement had to change. So the challenge worked with clients, in particular with government, to really raise levels of understanding and the potential benefits of procuring for value. Now, as part of Frontier Economics reports, they interviewed a number of stakeholders, some from the Department for Business, and I have a quote here that says, "Overall, we are seeing a big cultural change which is guided towards outcomes rather than inputs, and we are expecting a very positive impact from it." Now, the Construction Innovation Hub, in particular, worked really closely with government departments and helped write the construction playbook, which embeds TCC processes. Another quote from said BAYS stakeholder here, which says a whole load of things are driving cultural change, for example, worries about global warming. TCC is an important element of this, and without TCC, we wouldn't see progress in quite the same way. TCC is good at bringing industry and government together. So if you were said BAYS stakeholder, thank you very much. Now, we know, and you all know, that we set out to invest £170 million of public money, and that was to be matched by £250 million of investment by industry. The report finds that this will be met this year, but importantly, that industry investment will rise to over 800 million by 2027, something we're really proud of. Examples of this include heavy investment by Stuart Milne, doubling their capacity in their timber systems, Future Joinery Systems, doubling the size of their team and their investment pipeline year on year, and Hadley Group, who have already acquired a new factory. We also all know that the sector works to tight margins, and the R&D of this type that we've supported needs to be applied on real buildings. Despite some of these potential constraints, we have seen leveraged investment across industry. The report found that some projects and some businesses ended up spending 3 times the amount of the original commitment because of the strategic importance of the results. Lang O'Rourke, as leaders of the product-based building solutions demonstrator, are a great example of this. They have gone above and beyond when it comes to investing and that commitment from industry. So, the concepts that we've supported are new ways of working for the sector, and the challenge has helped accelerate a transition that was already underway. This hasn't been about theoretical solutions, but real-world application. We've worked with the early adopters and the innovators on the diffusion of innovation, working to move towards the mainstream and that early and late majority. And uptake is resulting in high levels of real-world application on major projects, helping us towards those levels required for that tipping point and getting past that chasm on the diffusion of innovation. Overall, successful applicants reported greater impact on annual revenue after engaging with the challenge. On surveying TCC participants on the impact of challenge concept when used at scale, 92% reported a positive impact. Contilio is a great example of this, having run a very successful fundraising round in 2021 and securing a number of global clients. So as you've heard, we set challenging targets for the value of real-world contracts being deployed on challenge outputs. And we're really proud that these have all been surpassed. You also all know that the construction sector generally lags behind by about 15% when it comes to productivity. Billions of pounds worth of projects are closing that productivity gap. And the Forge is a brilliant example of that. The world's first net zero carbon kit of parts office, something I said a lot in the practice for the video, is already realising around a 13% productivity improvement, but is striving for 35% productivity improvements. And actually some of our more recent data is already seeing greater improvements in productivity. The success of projects that we've supported has led to an increase in investment as well. And a brilliant example of this cross-sector success is N-Plan, who have been part of 2 of our projects. Last year, they received an $18.5 million investment from Google Ventures. Such a great example of the commercial value and worth of the projects that we've supported. And the challenge is forecast to deliver a £200 million improvement in the trade gap by 2026. And Converge, who have been part of 3 of our projects, are already delivering in Asia and have recently signed deals in Australia and New Zealand. When it comes to improving the delivery of built assets through the reduction of whole life costs, the report estimates the savings generated from projects already underway today will more than cover the cost of the challenge investment. Specwell load bearing is already realising a whole life cost reduction of 60%, and we are already seeing even better improvements here as well, with improved delivery of built assets rising to 200 billion by 2027, something we're really proud of. Similarly, when it comes to the reduction of delivery time, when it comes to the reduction of delivery time, you saw the Ties Living Lab Ava footbridge approach in the video, realising a 66% reduction in their demonstration time, 12 weeks assembly as opposed to 35 weeks. And what that means in real life is less disruption for users and buildings and systems working better for people. Already we are seeing a reduction in delivery time worth £400 billion by 2027. Importantly, reduction in delivery time needs to go hand in hand with improved environmental performance, and that's something we've seen through Future-Proof, new investment models delivering net zero emission homes with guaranteed running costs, and the active building centres work with Flintshire County Council, building affordable net zero homes at lower costs than previous methods. So I hope that I've left you wanting more. I hope this has felt too quick, because I really want you to take a look at this report for yourself, read it, take it in and understand it from your perspective as well. This is a snapshot of the quantitative external proof of the challenge, but I'd also really encourage you to take a look at the richer stories and the qualitative progress as well. The Transforming Construction brochure is outside for those of you in the room, but also able to access online. And I'm sure that everybody, live streamer in the room, has heard Mike and I talk about the Transforming Construction Stories catalogue. It is there for you to use to build your stories of innovation as well. So the groundwork has been laid for industry to continue to build on it. Thank you very much, and I look forward to continuing the conversation.
Well done, Hannah. So as we said earlier, this event will finish with a tour of the facilities here at MTC that are part of the Construction Innovation Hub. So we thought it's only fair to let Keith Waller come and trail that for you. Keith is the director of the Construction Innovation Hub. He joined it from his position at the time within the Infrastructure and Projects Authority, which sits across Treasury and Cabinet Office, for those who don't know, where he was instrumental in developing the original Transforming Infrastructure Performance Strategy, which lies behind a lot of these targets. He didn't put his name on it, but he will tell anyone who doesn't know that he wrote it. His IPA secondment was from Costain, where he delivered dairy milk. Where he was the development director. Keith, the floor is yours to come and trail the work of the hub.
I think you're fine, Mike. It was milk tray. Good morning, everyone. And the fantastic film that Mike played at the very start really showcases the range of innovative projects the Transforming Construction Challenge has funded since 2018. And we just heard from Hannah how much this challenge has already delivered in terms of impact. So today is rightly about celebrating the impact this challenge has already made. It's also about how we build on this success in the future. And let me set out why I think that is so important. This challenge has really opened our eyes as to what is possible when government and industry come together. And I want this challenge to be more than just a programme that's funding technical innovation and R&D. I know my team want more, and I think everyone in this room wants more as well. We want our sector to deliver greater value for society and its citizens. We want buildings and infrastructure that perform better, that use less energy, are safe, high quality and inspiring. And we want this to be delivered by productive UK businesses that innovate, that explore new opportunities and are profitable and sustainable and ethical and attract the best talent into our sector. So if this is what we want, how do we make this transformation a reality? I've always said that the Construction Innovation Hub's main role is to be a market enabler, not a market player. Therefore, we have focused on driving transformation through 3 distinct routes. Firstly, by developing technical solutions that align with the ambitions of the challenge, new digital and manufacturing approaches that improve value, boost performance, and deliver better outcomes. Shortly, you'll see an example of this in Hall 1 here at the MTC, in person for those of you here today, virtually for those of you watching online. And whilst I won't steal the thunder of the team showing you around later, what you will see, building on the Hub's programme of collaboration with our many industry partners, is a glimpse of the future. Advanced manufacturing processes delivering kits of parts for tomorrow's buildings. And as well as marvelling at what's already been achieved, I'd really like you all to think about what we could do next with these solutions. How should we build on these strong foundations? And why do I ask that? Well, because technical innovation alone doesn't deliver transformation. So, in the Hub, our second focus has been on helping to create the right enabling environment, policies, standards, regulations that allow innovations to thrive. That's why we work closely with government on the construction playbook, on procurement reform, on the Transforming Infrastructure Performance Roadmap, and others, empowering clients and policymakers to have the confidence to adopt new solutions as they are developed. And we know clients have to operate in a complex and evolving policy landscape. To help them succeed, we need to make sure we can demonstrate how these solutions support our shared ambitions for net zero, productive growth, levelling up, safety, and more. Not just cheap, instead delivering real value, improved services, better outcomes. And our third focus is to build capability and capacity in the UK market to deliver. More than skills and training, it's also about new products, processes and tools. It's about creating the right conditions, building confidence to invest for the future. For the Hub, our 3 enablers of transformation are therefore 1, a solution that meets a need, 2, a client confident to ask for it, and 3, a market ready and able to deliver it. That is what the Construction Innovation Hubs programme is about. And we're on the threshold of something remarkable. I really believe that, though we've not crossed that threshold yet. That's why we need to keep our focus on what comes next. The transformation that has started must continue. We are already seeing the impact. We know the recipe for success. And we have the right ingredients. We have a supportive and progressive policy environment. When clients choose value, not cheapness, we avoid a transactional race to the bottom and instead unlock innovation. Government and clients need to show leadership, build confidence and behave consistently, embracing the ambition of the playbook tip and the strategic challenges of TCC. They need to specify outcomes and procure for value. That's why, along with hundreds of our government and industry partners, we developed the Value Toolkit to help value-based decisions become the norm, not the exception. It really helps shape how our investment in the built environment can deliver better social, economic and environmental outcomes. We also have an engaged and enthusiastic industry that recognise the need to change, and are proactive in seeking ways to do it. It's been a real privilege for me and my team to work with so many inspiring and progressive businesses. We know capability and the capacity in the market must grow so it's able to meet the ambitions of this challenge in full. Therefore, it's encouraging that we are already seeing this growth, and it will continue if we maintain the collaborative spirit and ambition of the past few years. The groundwork has been laid. Fantastic progress has been made, and we must continue to develop these solutions, to embed them at scale, and to build capability and capacity in both clients and the supply chain. How do I see the future? My vision is for a better built environment delivered by a transformed sector, with a strong and supportive policy and regulatory environment, widely understood and consistently applied, with clients seeking value and performance, using digital tools and data smartly, not buying cheapness and inconsistency, with UK businesses, large and small, confident to invest, applying the innovations enabled through this challenge to reduce carbon, improve value, and much more. And a thriving sector that attracts and develops the best talent and that better reflects the society we all serve. If we can build on the great progress made, rather than basking in the achievements to date, then we will cross that threshold. Together, we will deliver a built environment that creates real value for our society. That's what I'm passionate about. That's what the Construction Innovation Hub wants to see. And it's a vision we can and should all get behind. When you tour Hall 1 later and reflect on what's been achieved through the challenge, remember to ask yourself, what can I do to enable this transformation, and how can I take this forward in my organisation to create a transformed sector that we can all be proud of? Thank you.
Thank you, Keith. So now it's time for, don't worry, you're sitting down, it's time for the panel. So if I can ask the 5 panellists to come forward and take their places in the order on the screen, please. In the meantime, for those, there's hundreds of people online following this. Please do keep putting your questions in through the Q&A box. Those of you in the room, if you're a particularly urgent question, do wave your hand around and I'll try and get you to you, but we will open up with a few. So you've already met some of these people already, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves. So let's just get started with, in a nice, easy way, I'm going to lobby up a nice, easy one to start with. Could you tell us what your role in the challenge was and what you're proudest of from the Transforming Construction Challenge? And then let's start with Sam.
Okay, well, I've been the challenge director. I've been running the programme. You've heard a lot from me already. But what I'm really proud of is the systems approach we've taken to everything. In order to change the construction industry, we've had to work on these different components, get value right, get the platform right, involve government, involve the industry, and I feel it's really come together. We've put together this complex jigsaw in order to really create an industry that's going to be different, already is different, but is going to be massively different and massively better in the future.
Thanks, Sam, and that's the kind of length of answer I'm looking for from the panel here. No longer, Jackie.
Thank you, Mike. Hello, everybody. I'm Jackie Glass. I was the lead for the Transforming Construction Network Plus, which was one of the places in the challenge where academics, shall I say took the lead? Yeah, I'll say took the lead, and were heavily involved in new projects and new collaborations. I'm from University College London, and my university, among many others, were involved in the projects that we supported. But, you know, Mike, the thing that I'm most proud of looking across the whole challenge was that there was academic and research expertise embedded wholesale across it. And that's fantastic to see. I think that's important to see, the deep research that we are known for in the UK embedded in a sector-specific industry challenge. And there was one project, if I may mention, that I'm particularly proud of, which we've not mentioned today so far, and that was the Acorn Project, which is one of the research leaders projects, also supported by the challenge, led from Bath. And there was some wonderful publicity about the work Paul Shepherd and his colleagues have done in creating this amazing new thin slab technology. So that would be my answer.
Wonderful, and I'm particularly proud that you were completely on brand in your outfit choice today for Innovate UK, and you can collect your dairy milk or milk tray from Keith afterwards. Andy, obviously the outputs of today are so impressive, you've decided to choose today to stand down as chair of the Construction Leadership Council. Is that true? That's the exclusive you gave me beforehand.
No, yeah, it is. It's all about timing. And it, in a lot of ways, so what role did I have in all this? Almost sod all. The sector deal was in place and secured through CLC working with Bays before I joined, really. And if I'm honest, what I was most nervous of when I took over the co-chair was that if this just turned out to be a bunch of well-meaning academics and enthusiasts sat in glorious isolation, having a wonderful time and doing some really cool stuff, but no one knew about it, then that would have been a massively missed opportunity. And the thing I think I'm most proud of is the way the industry has responded and engaged. I think you can't help, you're just looking at everything that we've seen today, you've got to ask yourself the question, why hasn't this happened before? And that's probably a whole history lesson, but the point is things are changing. The point is there is a huge recognition and understanding of the need for change, and I think the way that we've seen so many different parts of the industry, big companies, small companies, absolutely get what's going on here and getting involved. And as I see it, selflessly getting involved and sharing and being prepared to say, look, this is what we've done now, who can do better and who wants to work with us. So for me, it's that interaction between the really cool stuff that's being done and the results of the investment, but actually how that's been made available and joined in by the industry. And I think anybody watching this would say, well, why can't we do that? And that's the really important question. So this is hugely exciting. Yeah, we're not there, but I agree with Keith. We're on the threshold of some really, really amazing things.
Thank you. And Diana?
Thank you. I chaired the TCC advisory group, which brought together some very senior people from business and academia to help advise the challenges we went through. And thanks for those people who gave up a lot of time as we progressed. Things I'm most proud of, I think there's two sides to this. One is that the examples you saw were real companies who've written business cases and invested. So this isn't a demonstrator. In many cases, this is real investment on the ground in real projects. The companies don't do that lightly. They must be committed and they must really see the value. So I'd say that is incredible for a challenge like this. The second side is something that in my day job we've talked about a lot, which is the clients and clients being helped to make the right decisions and procuring for value. So one of my pet things I think will be the most influential is the value toolkit and the way that helps procure for value rather than cheapest price. But alongside that is all the other pieces Keith mentioned, the playbook, etc. But really giving clients the tools to make the right decision that will end up with construction procured for value, low carbon, sustainable, and something we can be proud of now and in the future.
Thank you, Diana. Keith, what are you proudest of?
Well, I think there's probably two things, Mike, if I'm honest with you. Firstly, I'm very proud of my team. It's quite difficult to lead a team of over 100 people when they're all much brighter than you. So it's been really great to work with them and learn from them through the process. But I'm also very proud of everyone else, and I'll tell you why. 4 years ago, the industry was very fragmented and argumentative, and there was a real disconnect between government and the market. And over the last 4 years, not just through the challenge, but how the industry's come together in response to COVID. We're seeing greater levels of collaboration within the industry and a much stronger relationship between government and industry. And Andy and the CLC obviously must take a lot of the credit for that. But actually, that's why I believe and why I really feel we're on that threshold now, because we've got that collaborative spirit with the industry. We've got some really bright people aligned and focused on the future. And we've got some really talented people in government and the market working together much more collaboratively than I've seen in my life.
Yeah, I must say as well, again, echo that around the CLC, the single voice leadership at the start when we were writing the business case was so powerful and we're so clear on what they were asking for. And yeah, you've got a team there. For those who aren't fully aware, that means you've got manufacturing people, digital geeks, and and construction people all working together and getting them speaking the same language has been a lot of fun. I'm not, we there? Are we there? Kind of. So I think we've come a long way in 4 years. So I'm kind of want to ask the panel, where do you hope, or where do you expect, or where would you like us to be in another 4?
This has been all about laying the foundations for change. So, what you've heard about today is all the proof that the theory of improving construction makes sense. So we've laid the foundations for this. It's the end of that beginning phase of this change. And over the next 4 years, I think we're really going to see it work through the industry. I mean, we know that this industry is one with terribly small margins, very insecure livelihoods, frankly, in the industry. And yet we have this vast amount of waste in the industry, this vast amount of wasted labour hours, vast amount of wasted energy, materials and so forth. We can slash through this. The targets that I put up at the beginning, in many cases, we can really exceed these targets. Now, what does that mean? That means better jobs for people, it means better exports, and it means better market capitalisation, share price of the businesses that are at the forefront of this. So, I think while we've, some tremendous work has been done so far, in terms of really seeing the implications of it, the next 4 years are going to be fantastic, and I'm really excited about being part of that.
Come on, Jackie, 2026, what are we going to see?
Well, I was thinking, actually, on the ground, what would we see? How could the practitioners across industry, how could all of the firms that belong to CPA, how could we see this? And actually, if you think about the projects that we've seen today that are in the portfolio, for me, I'm really recalling the days, some of you will be old enough like me to remember this, of the M4I and the demonstration projects programme. So we've got to see these as demonstrations because they are ambitious and coherent and competent demonstrations, but we have to expect diffusion and we have to welcome it, in which case what we're going to see is different characters of product platforms emerging. And that's what I'm really excited about, is how these emerge, how they change, and how different firms collaborate to create new sorts of product platforms.
Can I ask you to take an academic perspective as well? So what does academia need to do, or what do we need to do with academia to realise a lot of this?
Oh, I have many suggestions for this, as you would expect, particularly with the lead of Innovate UK with us today. There are a number of things. I think one of the things that I've seen with this programme and through the Network Plus was the amazing response we had to anything we did. Thousands of hits on social media, so much interaction, so much excitement. So we know there is an academic, an academic community ready to work with industry, wanting to work with industry. So it's really important that I think we put some time now to think about the enablers, a really good word, I think, in this space right now, the enablers to really help that to happen, small and large. And I'll come back to that maybe a bit more later.
Okay, yeah, well, hopefully you'll get the chances. Andy?
In 4 years' time.
Tideway will be finished, yeah?
Well, we'll be finished. I'll be signing off my my career, but I believe we will see an industry that is pretty unrecognisable, because I think what's going to happen now is this change is going to accelerate, and You know, from an industry that when I joined 40 years ago, the sort of standard young person's question of why do we do it this way? And the answer is because we've always done it this way. And I'm rather hoping by 2026 the answer is why are we doing this? Because we've never done it this way before. And it has to be that fast. It has to be that profound. And we've got everything lining up in our favor. We've got the capabilities. We've got the technology. There's never been a greater need. We've got a government that understands that and understands the importance of this industry for the economy, but also for the future. And, you know, as I've said before recently, this is an industry that, you know, we need to be saying to people, if you want to change the world, then join this industry, because that's how we're going to do it.
So what will the future be like for workers? Will it be how different will it be in 4 years' time for workers within the sector?
There is a whole bunch of different skills and knowledge and capability, and I do think that we're going to see people come into this industry. You know, I came in because I wanted to build things, I wanted to travel the world, and I like being outside, but I think the wanting to change the world rather than travel it, with an understanding of there are many different skill sets, not just people what go out and pour concrete. So I think we're going to see a much more diverse set of skills, hopefully a much more diverse set of people. Yes, of course, ultimately stuff has to be put together, but obviously the transition from how much is done in good, safe, controlled conditions and how much is then done wherever the thing that's being built is, that's bound to shift. I'd like to think it'll be an even safer industry to work in. Yeah, a very different, much more diverse, way more imaginative, and I think way more exciting.
Here. Dinah?
The thing that strikes me, and 2026 is not very long at all, is I think we are seeing a culture change in the industry, driven by good and bad. And so I think we will start to see that it will feel very different. And I think we're seeing it. I talked about the value toolkit and clients starting to procure for value. 2026 will probably still be those blue ribbon, those leading clients, but I think that will begin to become the norm. I was thinking as I go around the country and visit sites, it won't be a surprise to see modular construction. It won't be a surprise to see things coming on site. That will begin to become more normal. I'm not saying by 2026 every site will be like it. It won't be. But I think it will start to feel less surprising. And I think we will be well on our path. I think the thing Andy said about, I think the people coming into the industry now have very different skill sets than they did 10, 20 years ago. And I think increasingly we will challenge what buildings are for and how buildings are happening, not just in residential, but across all areas, in terms of being carbon positive, in terms of playing a role in society and the collaborative spaces, as well as just buildings to be buildings. So I think we're on the cusp of that, as Keith says, and I think that brings all of that together. I don't think by 2026 we'll be there and we can sort of just polish our fingernails and say this is great. But I do think this feels like we are, you know, we've gone over the top of the hill and we are definitely on our way down the other side. And that's exciting, but it's quite scary as well. But, you know, I think the challenge for all of us in this room and online is we can't stop here and go, well, that was a nice project, very interesting, let's put it on a shelf. We have to use this momentum to keep it going.
So, Keith, maybe I'll build on something Diana said there about the uses of buildings. You did tell me yesterday that I can't catch you out with any question whatsoever. So that's a challenge to the audience here as well. So what would it, in 4 years' time, what would it be with the best buildings that are delivered this way? What will it feel like for the user? What will feel different for them?
I think as the construction industry historically, Mike, we have been really, really good at explaining what we're going to do and really, really bad at explaining what people are going to get from what we've done. So I expect in 4 years' time, the video you played at the start, most of those things will be commonplace throughout the sector. We will have an industry that people want to join, you know, rather than reluctantly join in many cases. I mean, people like Andy and me wanted to join the industry. I mean, a lot of people who are left with no choice but to join it. I think we want to attract people in through how we use data, how we drive net zero, how we have great working conditions, how we deliver inspiring buildings. how we make a difference to people's lives, how we drive net zero social impact. So I think we will end up with a very different sector. And I think it will happen faster than even the most optimistic of us do if we've got that collaborative spirit and that alignment that government set out in its policy environment and industry continues to work together. I think we'll move at pace.
Brilliant. Well, given we're actually set up like a TV panel game show at the moment, I'm going to move to the quick fire round. So I'm going to throw a few questions out that have come in from the audience online. I'm going to nominate who I think might answer it best, but do stick your hand up if you want to add a perspective as well. And I will keep glancing up to see if there's anyone in the audience urging to ask Keith a really difficult question. So the first one, we've got someone from James Cook here. I think maybe Andy, this is for you. Is the construction industry clearly aligned and on target to meet the 2030 to 2050 climate change targets that were detailed at COP26?
Are we aligned? Well, we're more aligned than we've ever been before, that's for sure. I think people will know, where we are with Construct Zero and the approach that we've taken to really trying to understand what is it we should be measuring. It's very easy to say high-level stuff, but actually how you're going to do it and how does that all add up? And we're publishing the next round of the measures from Construct Zero in March. It's not a perfect set of measures yet. So if I'm honest, I don't think the data's there that would allow anyone to say, yes, we're absolutely on target, but there's only one way we're going to get there, and that is to understand what is that pathway. And I think that's the important thing that's going on right now. Do I think we can achieve what we need to achieve? Yes, because we have to.
Yeah. So this one's for you, Keith, I think. I'm going to put it to you anyway. From Mohammed Salim, how can we help SMEs get access to the ideas and technologies developed as part of TCC? Obviously, we're releasing all information today. Maybe from a hub perspective, how do SMEs get involved with the hub?
I think that's a really important point, because I think that people often think that manufacturing is just for big organisations who can buy a big factory. There's a real opportunity for SMEs to work very closely with us, and we have ways of getting in contact with us through our website, and it's quite encouraged to get those small businesses engaged. I expect to see SMEs in the UK displacing international manufacturers who bring things into our built environment here in the UK at the moment. So I think there's a real opportunity when we think about levelling up carbon, social impact, driving productive growth in our economy for SMEs to do that. But the question is, why would they want to do that? And I think the answer to that sits in, we have the policy environment that says this is the direction of travel. We would want to go down a manufacturing approach. We understand Diana's point of the value drivers that government have around social impact, biodiversity, carbon, all of those aspects. And we have a pipeline that sets out 10 years of investment, around about £65 billion every single year. So connecting that long-term stable market with the opportunities to exploit and develop the technology that's come out of the challenge, I think is a real game changer for SMEs. I expect them to be thinking at a portfolio level at the 650 billion and see what's addressable, rather than coming in late on a project and saying, can you provide a bit of kit for the last 5 minutes of the job? So I think we want to get them involved earlier, help them understand the opportunity and work with them to develop their processes, products, tools, skills, so they can really be a key player in the market as we move forward.
What can an SME do today to go and learn more about the kind of offerings from the hub?
Well, our website has loads of information on how to contact us. There's a lot of our, we're in the last 6 months of our main programme at the moment, and we're increasingly looking at what the materials that come out at the end of that programme, how we make them accessible, not just to the big organisations, not just to government clients, but to SMEs and people who want to join the industry. So we're shaping up our outputs to make sure we are targeting SMEs, UK businesses, in a way that encourages them to invest, innovate and be part of that. So go to our website.
I'll also share your email on Twitter for everyone afterwards as well.
Please do.
That's probably the best way, isn't it? I think this was going to go up to Sam and Jackie, so both your perspectives here. So Vijay Pawar has asked, how do you, Innovate UK, addressing us, propose to maintain and or better engage with academia to get the required next generation skills transfer that's specific to the construction problems? Do you want to go first, Jackie?
Yeah, so when we talk about next generation skills, you know, one of the things that I'm really keen for people to appreciate is that we want to attract people into all aspects of the industry. And, you know, I count those who are researching and studying the industry as part of that community. So when we're looking at trying to actually encourage people in, you know, one of the things, and this might be a bit controversial, Mike, but I'm going to say it anyway, many people will know, actually looking back on it, how influential the BIM mandate was. Okay, now I know when it came in, people were crying and people were sweating and it wasn't great, but actually let's look back on it now sensibly, and some government mandates can make a massive difference. And actually, you know, I've been, you know, teaching young people and bringing them into construction for a long time. And that mandate made a huge difference to their interest when they were joining firms, because they were ready. They were literate and ready to help people who were not ready. So actually, there are some really sort of unseen and unvalued consequences of these kind of big mandates, actually. But going back to the sort of focus question, you know, I'm really excited at the number of projects that we've seen today that involve really cutting edge technology, the sort of robots that we've seen, the automation, the autonomy, fantastic things which really do excite younger people to join our industry. And so I think we really need to foreground that as an alternative to Formula One, shall we say.
Do we suffer from does construction suffer from a cool image thing, not just with the next generation coming to study it, but with funders like ourselves, you know, and peers across peer review saying, this is boring, it's just buildings?
I think there's a real issue there. I mean, you know, I love construction. I've been in it all my life. I always wanted to do it, but I think the reality is that it's not the sexiest industry to be in, and I think that there is the potential to significantly shift that. I think the academic institutions have a significant role in that by really showing that they're providing education that will enable people to exploit the opportunities and the excitement of the construction sector. And I mean, it's a long time ago now, but you know, I happen to have a degree in architecture and a degree in civil engineering, and both of them could have been a whole lot better. And you know, I don't think as much has changed as it should have done over the years. But I think, again, we've got the opportunity, or the universities and sixth form colleges have got the opportunity to really provide much more exciting material that's really going to set people up for success and develop that momentum. It's like, do this course, go and get a great job, flourish in that job. More people will want to follow in those footsteps. And you know, at the moment, I lectured to sixth form college a little while back, and I did some research on the pay scales in construction. They actually compare pretty well compared to other sectors at the moment, but still people are quite resistant. But compared to where we are already, I think we've got enormous opportunities to do things better that should be attracting more diverse people into the industry, the most talented people into the industry, and I think that's going to benefit everybody.
I'm going to come to Andy, but I do want Jackie to come back on how your peers perceive construction from a sexy research point of view.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you know, Sam, I completely take the challenge on board, actually. And my institution, we've already committed to a brand new undergraduate programme, which is an integrated Masters and MSci in Construction Project Management, which will be different. We're committed to that. It has got much more about the, you know, the attitude of the playbook, the value toolkit. It's woven into what we're trying to do. And I expect other institutions to follow. So that, I mean, I think we are on that course. Obviously, you know, academics, we like to take our time on things, but that's the way it is. I think the campaign that the B1M are running right now, and some of you who have travelled through London Underground will have seen it, the work the B1M is doing is so important because they are reaching, if you want to call millennials, younger people, because they're actually showing our industry and showing how it's important, how we've achieved things, the amazing buildings and infrastructure that we create, and they're explaining it really well on social media. So I really like kind of universities and industry to get on the back of that.
You know, I've a 7-year-old, and it wasn't long ago he was watching Bob the Builder, and he uses autonomous vehicles that seem to have artificial intelligence. They all talk to each other. Andy, and you had some point to make on this.
You know, pretty much all of my career, and I guess for far, far too long, we have told our story badly. You know, we've talked about how we build things, and at best what we build. And we've got to explain ourselves much better. We've got to be talking about why we're doing what we're doing. What is the value of a well-considered built environment? And none of that's got much to do with any of the engineering functions. It's way more about societal benefit. And I can imagine some people finding that a bit cheesy. Well, yeah, I've got to talk about how. Because I think we're in the wrong place. We're not telling the best story we could tell because we don't see what we do in the right way. And so we all have a role in this industry to see what we're doing in the context of the why, of a built environment, of a flourishing natural world. And so we've got to tell a better story, and that's totally within our grasp, but we've got to start by understanding that we've got to tell a better story.
I love it, loving that. I'm going to come to Kerry in a second. Now, there's one here for you, Diana, because I don't want you to feel left out, and I'm sure you were expecting it. We've got a question through from Sam Hart around, is there a drive towards an increased use of low-embodied carbon natural construction materials, particularly as a post-Grenfell ban on combustible materials comes in? Maybe we can talk generally about our materials problem and our safety issues.
Yeah, and I think natural materials it's a bit like saying sort of, you know, you only have organic stuff or non-chemical free. It's about having the right data on materials so people can make the right choices. So, and increasingly looking, and we saw loads of examples in that project about making sure we design the right materials in the right place so we don't over-engineer, which is something we're all very good at doing, particularly as manufacturers. So you know, and if I look back, and you can do it in any sector, but I did a lot of work way back on looking at milk bottles and the way we transport milk around, and the way, you know, that's simple, but the way that has evolved and changed, and will change again as we move out of plastic, but it's about having the best material you can to make at that moment in time. But picking up on something else, I just have to say this, we talk about buildings and whatever. The one piece that I think we all hope this challenge would go on to next is about retrofit. Because I think it's great to talk about how great the shiny new building is, but it's people's experience every day of their own environment, in the buildings they live in, the buildings they work in. And I think that's critically important. And in the real world, even by 2026, most of us are not going to be working and living in the buildings we saw today. We're still going to be in the same old buildings. So one of the challenges, I think, for construction moving forward and for society is how we retrofit, because we aren't going to meet the carbon targets anywhere near unless we actually have a low-carbon modern environment for every building, not just the shiny new ones from here on in. So,
and I promise we didn't discuss that answer beforehand, didn't we? But yeah, for those who don't know, Diana, I both come from the chemical sector, and if you use the term chemical-free around either of us, you're probably going to be injured, because there's no such thing unless it's a vacuum. So Kerry had a question up at the back. Kerry?
Yeah, shall I just shout?
Yeah, shout it out, and I'll repeat it so that online people can hear it.
Thank you. Yeah, it sort of relates to a certain extent to what Diana's just been talking about, and it's really about our objectives to move towards net zero for new buildings and for existing buildings. We've talked a lot about the fabric of the buildings, and I think the Construction Innovation Hub has done some, and is doing some great stuff. I really wanted to see what the panel wanted to say about the energy systems in buildings, particularly.
Okay.
Now, I know the Active Building Centre has been working on those, and in the same way that people can go to the hub for the more fabric side, they can go to the Active Building Centre for the more energy-related side. But that too is a huge opportunity for UK industry.
Yeah. So
I just want to know how we should move forward on that.
Yeah, for those online, the questions about, if you haven't heard it, is around how we integrate energy systems at a building level, which is something the Active Building Centre's looked at and you saw in the video. So anyone want to particularly pick up on that, wave their hand around on that one, and how we do it? Go on, Keith. And well, maybe how we integrate it with platform systems.
And I think that there's a real opportunity to start not thinking about them as two independent things that eventually come together randomly, about how we integrate that through the design and specification processes. So they are inextricably linked and need to be to get the fabric of the energy systems to work together. I think one of the challenges we've got to face up to, and if we just think about public buildings, our schools, our hospitals, prisons, social housing, all those areas there, we still have too much inconsistency in how clients set out their requirements to the market. Even though when some of the challenges that they need to be addressing are exactly the same, if they set them out in a different way to the market, it becomes very difficult for the market to respond in a joined up and strategic way. We want the market, businesses to be able to invest strategically for the portfolio rather than just tactically for the project. And then if we can really, I think I said in my words, start to demonstrate to government, to clients, to investors, the benefits that can be delivered, the actual data that demonstrates how this supports better whole life value, better social impact, lower carbon, all of those good things that we should be striving for. If we can articulate those benefits in a language that's widely understood, then we'll get people thinking strategically in a joined up way and consistently, rather than tactically, randomly and inconsistently, which we often see at the moment. So there's a real opportunity, not just improving how we build things, but the performance of those buildings when they're done as well. Really important we do that.
Sam?
Yeah, with regards to the energy systems of buildings, we've had a lot of opportunities to get buildings to perform better in terms of their energy performance, but bringing those solutions together and controlling them and being confident about how they'll perform has been a real gap. And what we've got the basis of with the Active Building Centre is that evidence base, that feedback loop. So lots of test activities and buildings already associated with the Active Building Centre. And being able to take that data on energy performance, use it to fine-tune the control system, so your storage and your capture of energy and so forth is optimised, is a fantastic opportunity for the nation. So there's effectively a lot of low-hanging fruit there, and we identified with the Active Building Centre a real gap in the market that we've seriously addressed, and that's something that we can build upon very quickly, I think. And there is frankly sort of some discussion about how to best exploit that asset, but I think there's real business opportunity in developing that capability for the positive feedback loop. Test the systems, see what the performance data, make sure there's no performance gap there, and then people can invest, the clients, the owners of buildings can invest in these solutions, install them in their buildings, know with real confidence that they're going to work and therefore they're going to get their return on investment and such like. And then that will drive this virtuous circle of continuous improvement. Right now, whatever it is, 40% of buildings could probably be economically viably upgraded with these systems. As we go along and these technologies are honed and improved, we'll get closer to 100%, which is where we're ultimately aiming for buildings.
And I think when we start moving to how we deal with integrating with the whole energy network, that's one of the real benefits of Innovate UK, is that we're already working in those kind of areas. And if anyone wants to talk afterwards about how we integrate at a network level, our colleague Chris is here now. She's moved on to manage the Strategic Innovation Fund that we manage with Ofgem. And that's, again, the power of Innovate UK to bring those together. I am going to come to you, Henry, in a second, but there's a lovely question coming online that I really want to throw at the panel. With the benefit of hindsight, is there anything you would have done differently in the delivery of the challenge programme and projects to have an even greater impact? It's a good question. Across all of your areas, maybe I'll skip you on that one, Andy, unless you really want to. But yeah, from all of your different perspectives, maybe from your own, what might we have done differently? You want to go first, Keith?
Yeah, I think if you think of this as an R&D program where we've moved past the R now, we're in the development and we want to move on to that deployment and diffusion. That means that we've tried over the 4 years some things that have worked really well and some things that haven't worked well at all. And that's what you expect, the nature of that. And the skill is to drop them or amend them or amalgamate them in a way you deliver the most impact. If nothing we had tried had failed, then I think we wouldn't have been pushing ourselves hard enough. And I think you've got to get that balance right. There was nothing at the start of our programme that said, can you develop a value-based toolkit approach to improve procurement? But we were looking at a number of things around procurement, and out sprung the value toolkit. So there's a number of things.
Or how to design a net zero school, yeah.
So the simple answer to that is I wouldn't change anything. So I think that experience of learning and working out what works well, what I would have liked to have done earlier is we moved, perhaps after about a year, from what I would call a self-delivery model in the hub to a co-delivery model, bringing in a lot more industry partners, working much more closely with government. So if I could change one thing, I would have bring that external expertise in earlier and promote the benefits to those businesses of getting involved in the challenge and supporting that transformation.
Brilliant answer. Diana, from the advisory group side, was there anything you see? I mean, you've always given us some very healthy challenge all the way through. It's great to get that lovely, we love you, but we're pessimistic challenge.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. It's a great group of people on the advisory group, and we all came in. It took a while to get going, I think, to understand, given a lot of people came from business and a lot from academia, it took us a while to get into the groove and sort of really pack a punch, if you like. And I think, given some of the people around the table, we were probably all slightly naturally pessimistic. I think it feels like we're in our stride now. It feels like the challenge we give you is perhaps clearer and better. So it's a bit like, if we could start where we are at the beginning, where we are now, you'd probably get better value from us, but we are where we are. I think, like Keith said, I think there are some places we went to that perhaps weren't a great use of our time, but actually you don't know that until you go there. And some of the ones we have got to have surprised all of us. And I think, given we lived this through COVID, so I think we met for the first year, and after that, we're doing it all on Zoom. The last meeting we had some of the videos, bits of videos we saw, and I could feel the whole group, even through Zoom, was just blown away by the projects. And I think while you can get that group of cynics around the table blown away by some of the projects, that's been great. So, yeah, starting faster, and in fact, our last wash-up in July, we are literally going to sit down and go through what worked, what didn't, and what would we have done differently. So we've got something to pass over to future Innovate projects of advisory groups, so how you can take that forward. So we're certainly not going to just sort of walk off into the distance without having something tangible on that bit, on the advice.
That's your exact exam question for that one, isn't it? Yeah. Sam next, and then Jackie.
Yeah. I think it's maybe a bit controversial, but I think I would have concentrated somewhat more on potential disruptors to come into the construction industry and shake us up. I do think there is an opportunity for disruptive innovation in construction. What is clear to everybody is I want to see positive change in the construction sector. I think that there are still chunks of the sector that need more of a wake-up call than we've already had. And, if you look out there in the world, there's been disruptive innovation in our recent lifetimes on a massive scale elsewhere. I'd be interested in going after and stimulating that disruptive innovation, which, frankly, disruptive innovation is painful for some, and there are some big winners from it. So that would be my reflection on that. Jackie?
It's interesting that you mentioned that, Sam, because actually one of the things I was reflecting on recently, and I think, Diana, you're absolutely right, we can't overlook the pandemic and the effect that that's had on families and people, their working lives, their home lives. We can't overlook that. And I think where that affected us most profoundly was in those moments, maybe halfway through the programme, where actually you're coming together and you're continuing to make new collaborations and new connections. And it's at that point where you want to have those moments of agile inspiration. And it's bringing in the disruptors. It's those moments where you think, actually, now we need to catalyse, we need to activate slightly differently. And I do think we missed out on some of those opportunities because we just weren't networking in the same way that we would normally.
Okay. Do you want to come in? Yeah, go on, Andy. Yeah.
Well, we were talking earlier about how do we deliver this? How do we get out and multiply all the cool things that have been done. And you know, you can't get away from the fact that whatever the statistic is, 95% of all the companies in the industry are SMEs, and okay, Tideway's an SME by the definition, but you know, I mean, small companies with a relatively small number of people, and for sure, it wouldn't have been right to shout too early before we knew what we had to shout about here. But I think there's a lot more ground to cover in terms of how do we get the companies that are the bulk of this industry to be able to do this. And you know, Keith said, fine, you know, there's a lot of website stuff, but an awful lot of people don't have an awful lot of time to spend their time trying to do that when they're trying to make turnover. So I think this has got to be push as well as pull, and I think there's a lot more to do to really make what is going on here available and accessible to the bulk of the industry.
Brilliant. I'm going to go Henry, then Yuande, and then we're going to close up. So, Henry, nice and concise question so I can relay it back.
I'll try, Mike. I could be 5 minutes.
You know I'm staring you down now.
Feeling it. It's really building on a few of the points that were made around you know, the standardisation, so information management mandates, those sorts of things where we need to kind of put a box around how these things are done and just do them. And then this sort of disruptive innovation on the other side. I think there's a tension between these two ways of doing things.
Mm-hmm.
I just wonder where the panel think they should draw the line, or how that line should be drawn.
In summary for those online, the question is around the tension between being very disruptive at one end and the need for a kind of collective standardised approach for the platform kind of approach to kind of work. Where does the tension balance? I'm going to look to see whoever wants to chip in here. Keith, then Sam.
Yeah, I think that's a question when we speak to architects, engineers, when we speak to young professionals, it's a question that often comes up. And, you know, we don't want everything to be boring, functional and the same. And part of what we're doing, part of the work we're doing with the platform rulebook that we'll be publishing in the next month or so, is trying to create the interface standards, the rules for how these things can be mass customizable. You know, what we want to do is not have everything the same. What we want to do is have a set of rules that allow people to innovate on the products and have some standardization on, you know, where they come together. And I think the example we often use when we talk to people is the Boeing 777, which has 3 different types of engine, Pratt & Whitney, Rolls-Royce, GE, but there is a common definition of the interface between the engine and the wing, where they connect. All the innovation sits in the engine, but the definition of how it connects structurally, the data that flows through that connection, the fluids that flow through that connection, all defined to allow innovation. By standardizing the rules, you unlock the innovation for the product and the solution. And I think there's an awful lot we can do in mass customization rather than just bog standard standardization. The rules are what we want to standard, the processes we do, then we can innovate on the products.
Great one, Sam.
Yeah, I think the walled garden concept comes in here. So if you set the right rules, you can inspire innovation. And if you know, between us, we've got an idea of how things can be massively better and more efficient. If we state that and make it absolutely clear that there's solid demand for that, that will inspire the right people to innovate. It doesn't, innovation's not all about sort of anything goes. Innovation needs some rules and boundaries and a walled garden in which to operate really effectively.
Well, to put it another way, as my hairdresser says, you can't break the rules unless you know the rules first. I think that's what she said. Yuande, delighted you're here. What's your question for the panel?
Actually, it really follows on quite well from Keith's comment, because I mean, I get really jealous of the fashion industry. You know, it almost feels like at the start of the year, they say, oh, the rest of the world, you know, is going to wear this design, that design, that design. And I always wonder why we don't have a little bit of that in terms of that united front, especially to our clients, especially to the rest of the world. And I always think, you know, we've got these incredible technologies. How do we really see our adoption rates really skyrocket across all the construction players, so that we're strengthening individuals as well as the collective? Big question, but I just wanted to...
I love that. So comparing with the fashion industry, how do they get together and almost determine the trends for the season ahead? How do we do the same kind of thing for construction? So, I mean, I will go straight to the best dressed man on the panel.
Okay, Andy? No, I think that's a really good point. And again, part of what we're trying to do through our programme with things like creating the platform rulebook and things like the value toolkit, it enables those strategic portfolio decisions like the fashion industry to be said. We're not going to, define that you must wear, black or brown or whatever. I'm colourblind, so it doesn't matter in that space. What we're trying to do is create the right conditions where we can deploy solutions at scale and pace. One of the challenges, and I think this is something we need to keep working with government, is at the point I made earlier about clients asking for the same thing in a different way, and that's a real barrier to people developing those products, those solutions that can be part of that consistent rollout across the industry. The construction industry has always been really good at responding to what clients have asked it to do, even if what clients have asked it to do is completely barking mad. So what we're going to do is try and work with government, policymakers, regulators, those clients to try and help them set out their requirements in a way that allows that standardised and customised approach to be delivered, so we can have more schools, more footbridges, more hospitals that can be delivered in a more consistent way, that deliver those better outcomes for society, for users, for owners, for operators, for investors, for the sector.
So I'm going to draw that question. It's such a thought-provoking thing that we should talk about it some more, and maybe the next leader of the CLC needs to be someone deeply embedded in fashion thinking. I don't know. Not that you're not, Andy. Sorry. We'll get a free transfer in from there or something. So I do want to finish this on time because I promised you we would. I'm going to ask the panel to give me one line each, one very quick line each to the following question. I think we've agreed the next phase of transforming construction starts today. What's the one message you want to leave for everyone? And we'll start for Sam and go down, I think.
Well, I think the message is very clear. Adopt these solutions. We must adopt these solutions. It's a chance of a lifetime. Don't waste it.
Jackie?
So I have an academic's answer for you. We've been talking about innovation all morning. Look, Peter Drucker said, and we all know this, 2006, culture eats strategy for breakfast. I think this is extremely relevant here. If you want to have this empowering and powerful innovation culture in your business, then it's time to do innovation parenting. And to do that parenting well, you've got to have strong roots for your children, and you've got to let them fly at the same time. So I'd really like CEOs to really start re-engaging with their innovation strategies, having watched today's session.
Thank you, Jackie. Andy?
My first response was quite a simple one of just go large or go home. But I think Mark Farmer put it way more eloquently, and Mark, you're in the audience there. Was it innovate or die?
Modernise or die.
Modernise or die. and that's kind of the reality. You're either going to have to change and change quickly, or this is not looking like a good future for you. So, wake up and smell what's going on and go large.
Still relevant, Diana.
I was just thinking we're a very nice small club in here and online, not that small, but if each of us is convinced by what we've heard today, and I certainly hope you are, when you get to your next business case, if it doesn't reflect some of this, challenge it. When you're standing around having a coffee in the day when we move off Zoom, talk about this, point some of your colleagues to the information that's online. Because, the construction industry is enormous. We will pick up the people who are converted. How do we start to make this, the 2026 challenge, a lot more normal? And we will only do that by the people who aren't in this room or online, who aren't yet convinced, or who frankly haven't even heard of it. So I think it's beholden on all of us to go and communicate to, if we all told 5 people convincingly and got them to look at it and adopt it, that's a pretty big multiplier with who's online now.
Ponzi scheme, got it. Keith?
I think, again, three things that come together. As I think I said in my remarks, technology and innovation alone doesn't deliver transformation. We need to make sure we're still working on creating the right enabling environment, policy regulation, working with clients on that side, and we do need to build capability and capacity in the market. Because there's no point in having a great solution that a client wants to buy and there's no UK businesses able to deliver it. So we need to build all those three together to keep that acceleration so we can go large, Andy.
Wonderful. Thank you, Keith. Can we just thank the panel in the usual way? Thank you to all of you, the hundreds and hundreds of you that have joined online. We are now moving the tour bit. You'll be moving straight now into the virtual tour. So thank you for joining us. Everything we've shown today, anything you might have missed, you can find at ukri.org/TCC. We have recorded this event. We will make that available for you to watch back in the future if anything wasn't quite there for today or you missed part of it for some reason I can't imagine. So goodbye and thank you to those who are online. Those in the room, we're doing a tour. Well, you're going to get some lunch first. So the lunch will be served outside. On your badges, I have mine here, there's a little coloured dot. At 1:10 p.m, 10 past 1, put down your drink, stop chatting to everybody, move towards the front. You'll be met by your host who'll take you round. If you're a red dot, you're with Trudy. Want to wave, Trudy? If you don't know her, you should know her. If you're a green dot, you're with Susan. Is Susan here? Yep. Yeah, hi Susan. And if you've got a blue dot, you're with Mark. Is Mark in the room? Well, that didn't work very well, did it? Okay, so 10 past 1 for that. And thank you for your time today. We've really appreciated it. And I hope you've enjoyed what you've seen.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Hall 1 at the MTC. My name's Mark Ireland. I'm Chief Engineer for our construction and infrastructure sector, and we're really pleased to have you with us, albeit virtually, for some of our exhibits here in Hall 1 that we've been working on for the Construction Innovation Hub over the last 4 years. We're passionate about hitting the construction sector's goals of reducing lead times for projects, making projects greener or zero carbon, improving productivity, making the skills base more accessible for construction projects. And we've got 3 exhibits that we want to show you. Those exhibits range from making individual components and how we can think about standardizing processes but having full flexibility in terms of design to give us some of the benefits of modern methods of construction without making everything the same. We're going to go through our Sandpit activities where we've been prototyping buildings, which enables us to use some of the tools from sectors like automotive, where we can standardize work instructions, we can apply lessons learnt, we can work with multi-skilled and multifunctional teams to bring together components from different construction supply chains and make sure they're all going to interface together and work properly in real buildings. And then finally, we're going to talk about some of the work we've been doing on automation. The reason we need to do that is as more and more buildings are made with their components off-site, there is going to be an increased amount of lifting and assembly required of those buildings on-site. We want to share with you some of the technologies that might be changing the future of how buildings are put together.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Liam Hill and I'm a Senior Research Engineer here at the MTC. I'm here today to talk to you about the advanced component fabrication capability that the Construction Innovation Hub has been developing alongside Metlays and Bryden Wood. This revolves around 3 digitally connected pieces of equipment: a laser cell, which is used to cut sheet steel, a CNC press brake, which is used to bend it, and a MIG welding cell, which is used to weld the pieces together. This is akin to a CAD/CAM approach typically used for machining, albeit this is for the whole manufacturing process. This allows us to upload digital models and know exactly how we're going to manufacture the components, automatically programming the pieces of equipment, de-skilling the whole manufacturing process, and opening up to a larger pool of available resource. One example of where the digitally connected laser cell is currently being used is to cut sheet metal for laser cut reinforcement. This is an alternative approach of reinforcing concrete. In the display area, you'll see 2 different methods of reinforcing concrete. One, which I think you'll agree, is much more recognisable and traditional in its approach. This is made up of low-cost material which is assembled by a highly skilled workforce. The workforce often spend long periods of the days in positions that are detrimental to their long-term health. This, coupled with wet, cold, muddy conditions often leads to high levels of variation in the final assembly. The alternative laser cut reinforced cage is an example of where the Construction Innovation Hub has worked alongside Metlays to reimagine the technology. Currently, in industry, there are examples of companies who are trying to automate the tying of rebar. We have taken an alternative approach to this, and we have redesigned the product so that automation is no longer required. Utilising unskilled labour to assemble the two demonstration pieces highlighted an 85% reduction in assembly time and also a reduction in geometric variation. This is due to the innovative approach of the laser cut reinforced cage. This allows for the laser cut cage to be truly optimised and to remove excess sheet steel and concrete, reducing the embodied carbon. You're now going to hear from Dave Allen at Metlays, who's going to talk about further industrial work and its impact.
The MTC approached Metlays to help explore the opportunity to introduce sheet metal as an alternative to conventional rebar. Metlays has a proven track record of using its technologies to solve complex problems in advanced manufacturing sectors. Since designing the MTC demonstrator in 2018, we have continued to explore the wider opportunities for the construction industry offered by our transformative technologies. In conjunction with academia and industrial partners, including the University of Sheffield, Leeds Beckett University, PC Limited and Roger Bullivant, Metlays has developed LCR to a stage where it is now a viable method of concrete reinforcement. The technology is attracting the interest of a number of other construction companies. It has been shown to provide a number of significant benefits. Optimized solutions have been developed for all common reinforced concrete elements. This means that LCR is available for a range of applications from foundations to facades. LCR helps improve productivity both on and off site. Optimized reinforcement frames can be provided fully assembled. These include all ancillary components, saving setup time prior to casting. The whole process is de-skilled, eliminating the need for specialist installation. LCR therefore facilitates significant reductions in manufacturing time and program duration. LCR also contributes to the sustainability and carbon reduction. Through optimization, reinforcement volumes can be reduced by up to 50%. More complex geometries can be achieved, facilitating additional concrete volume reductions. And in precast applications, its inherent accuracy facilitates further safety factor reduction. The commercial viability of LCR has been established for a number of precast and in-situ applications. Metlays are keen to review new opportunities. If you would like to discuss a potential application, please contact me on the email address shown. Thank you.
Together with Bryden Woods, we've been developing a demonstration component utilising the digitally connected fabrication process flow. This is traditionally made up of 4 components of varying thicknesses that is assembled by skilled operators using jigs and fixtures to achieve positional accuracy. This, similarly to the reinforcing process, is currently reliant on their skills. We have done some design for manufacture and assembly work to combine the components together where they are not required for function and commonising the material thicknesses. One thing that the manufacturing sector, particularly automotive, does really well is that prior to designing a component, they know exactly how they're going to manufacture it. This allows for the design to be truly optimized for the process. Once the unibody component has been cut by the laser cell, it is then transferred to the CNC press brake. This is where the digital model is uploaded into the software and it automatically selects the tooling and the bending sequence for the component. You'll now see James bending the component. The bent part is then transferred to the robotic MIG welding cell. When talking to SMEs about potential barriers to adoption for robotics, they often state the large changeover times and the huge costs involved with robot programmers. This is mitigated through the upload of digital models and the automatic programming of the robot controller which removes the need for this costly resource. The key points I'd like to leave you with today are the use of robust and repeatable processes so that we can quantify a product's performance, the use of digital processes so that we can open up a pool of resource, and the transfer of technologies that are proven in other sectors to construction.
We've just seen how the MTC is working on standardising manufacturing processes which allow us to work in a flexible way to make construction components. Another thing that we need to do is, as well as standardising processes, we need to look at how we can work with supply chains to work together on different projects. Now, normally this is done in quite a fragmented way. The spirit in manufacturing is about collaboration and everyone working together for the benefit of the larger entity. We're moving on to the construction sandpit building, which is a skeletal frame that allows us to assemble components like wall systems, facade systems, roofing systems, which could be made by different companies in a supply chain, integrated together on a test building, which allows us to prototype the interfacing and the assembly methods of those components. The other thing it lets us do is apply some of the tools and methodologies from a manufacturing approach. So things like standardised work instructions, applying lessons learnt, picking up on problems and snags that are found during prototype build, so that these can get rectified through the prototyping process, and the next time these components are put together on a real site, you know exactly how to do it, you know you're not going to find these problems, which gives a higher quality and more assured outcome for the building that we're going to put together.
Hello everyone, I'm Adam Brown. I'm a Senior Research Engineer here at the MTC, and I'm going to talk to you today about sub-assemblies and the work that the Construction Innovation Hub has done with its partners, which in this instance include Green Life Buildings and BMI Group. So I'm here today inside the Sandpit. What is the Sandpit? On a fundamental level, it is a steel frame structure with a reinforced concrete base here inside Hall 1 at the MTC. It is designed to provide a controlled R&D environment for physical experimentation, testing and validation of new and existing construction products. And it is designed to offer a continual test bed for industrial engagement to enable harnessing of new processes and technologies and the transfer of some of those processes and technologies from other areas that we work with.
The processes we have followed have allowed us to measure and determine the accuracy of the finished active roof cassette as if it were being installed on site, without the time pressure and risks of a real site. By building in the factory environment, not variable site conditions, quality control checks have been far easier and more detailed, and the whole concept of a cassette means that we have a repetitive process, i.e. the complete roof is made up of two cassette designs and the two designs are simply mirror images of each other. So over 95% of the materials and processes are the same.
So now we're going to look at a comparison between traditional roof construction and the roof cassette prototype that we've developed here through the hub with our partners. If we look at traditional roof construction, these are made from raw materials which are delivered to site. Construction is clearly highly weather dependent. Inherently, there's likely to be inconsistency between different build sites, different conditions, and of course different contractors. And of course there's a requirement to store lots of raw materials on site. However, if we look at the active roof cassette prototype, this is a standardised pre-made product that can be made in a factory As such, there's the opportunity to do quality checks during the design and build process. Then when we get to site, there's a reduced requirement to store raw materials and a reduced requirement for equipment to be used on site. So now if we look at a wider sense at some of the sub-assemblies that we've prototyped on the Sandpit, and I'm going to talk about 3 in particular. So we've talked about the active roof. This is designed to look at factors such as thermal performance, integration between adjacent roof cassettes, and the opportunity to do ongoing maintenance on the cassettes once installed. We've then got external walls. Now these again are a standardized product, lightweight, flexible, can carry services. We can have integrated windows and things that are again pre-installed into the products before installation, and they provide opportunities for attachment of different facades internally and externally. Then, to be installed on the Sandpit, we have the internal wall subassembly. Now again, these can be configured to carry different technologies and different services and provide the opportunity for ongoing upgrades or changing of the internal look of a building. So now we're going to see a time lapse of the build process for the Sandpit, and you'll see things such as the construction of the steel frame with the concrete base and plinth. You'll see construction of the roof cassettes themselves, and then you'll see the installation process for both the roof cassettes and for the external walls. So now I want to talk about the ongoing engagement with industry and the impact of the Sandpit project. So we want future projects in this environment to be supplier-led. We want suppliers to come and learn from us, to develop new processes and to harness some of the technologies that we can offer. We want the Sandpit to have ongoing impact to the industry. We want to offer this controlled R&D space to develop new products, to test, to validate, and ultimately to prove out new and existing products over their whole life cycle.
Good afternoon, my name is Chris Williams. I'm Managing Director of Green Life Buildings, and we're very pleased to have installed panels for use at the MTC. The work with the MTC has been encouraging for us and required us to create new systems, including the no concrete options for insulated panels and freestanding with fixing battens, which you can see at the MTC. It's also required us to work with other companies such as Metlays to create fixing options, and that's gone on to lead to other work with Metlays for use with the GLB walling system. Very pleased to have worked with Steve Murphy and his team, and we look forward to taking this to the next level for supporting government builds using MMC with the lowest carbon options available.
So here we're looking at the impact of MMC on modern methods of construction. Now this data is from the US, but we can imagine that it would apply similarly in the UK market. And this is essentially looking at the current and perceived advantages of applying things like prefabrication and modular construction. The first chart indicates the sectors in which MMC is deemed to have the biggest impact or the biggest potential impact, and you can see that healthcare is foremost amongst them. The second chart shows some of the key performance indicators that are deemed to be affected by application of MMC, and you can see that improved productivity is foremost amongst them. So here we can see some views and opinions from the industry around the barriers and the benefits of the application of modern methods of construction.
We're moving on from the Construction Innovation Hub Sandpit building to the work that we're doing on automated assembly. Now, the work on automated assembly is critical to supporting the use of modern methods of construction. As more components and sub-assemblies are made off-site, there is an increased reliance on lifting and assembling those components on a real building site. The sector has been very reliant on traditional methodologies like using cranes and even people to lift components like glazing panels into position. We really want to change that. We want to look at how these assembly operations can be done in a more productive and a safer way, whilst giving better assurance for the outcome. We're going to look at a number of technologies that can handle volumetric components, panelised components, or even components that are discrete sticks and bits and corners and columns to put buildings together.
Hello, I'm Phil Jackson, a technical specialist in the automation and robotics domain here at the MTC. General manufacturing and construction down the years have evolved very differently. In fact, we're now seeing levels of productivity and consistent quality in our factory manufacturing sites that we could only really dream of a few years ago. And so the Construction Innovation Hub recognised there's a huge amount of value that can be gained by taking some of these hard-won techniques and technologies from general manufacturing and putting them to task in the construction sector. But how did we achieve such high levels of quality and consistency and productivity in our factories? Well, in short, by carefully controlling the environment and ensuring that the manufacturing processes are as consistent as possible. That means the environment is consistent, it means the products that we're manufacturing are consistent, it means that all the processes are consistent. And that is difficult to port over to construction. Those sorts of conditions don't traditionally exist. The buildings that we build are varied and different in scale, in design. The ground that we're working on undulates, the weather conditions that we're working in are subject to constant change. So now what do we need? We need technology that can compensate for changes in the product and the environment. Take, for example, this large-scale mobile robot. And this robot is capable of picking up large-scale components and placing them precisely into a building structure. And what's interesting about this is the technology has been enabled by laser scanning technology to be able to track precisely where the target point is. This means that in the case of this machine, we can pick up the components that we need to from wherever they're stored on the site. We can drive around the site. We only need one person to drive it around the site because it has safety scanners all around the perimeter to make sure that it doesn't impact any people or any other objects. And then we can drive it to the target and it will be able to fit the parts precisely every time. This, of course, obviates the need for a traditional craneage situation whereby you have up to 6 people doing slinging, doing banking, driving the crane and making sure that the area is clear. Now, are we going to see machines like this on our construction sites anytime soon? No, but what we will see is the technology that we've developed on this system in our plant of the future. Now, of course, there's no benefit to being able to pick and place building components precisely if the components themselves are not to within the right tolerance and they won't properly fit within the space that they're supposed to fit into. So, we have here also a ceiling panel assembly demonstrator. Now, what's really, really powerful about this concept is that these ceiling panels can be assembled on the basis of building information management data, which is to say, that directly from architectural designs, this system can put together a panel of the right dimensions and with the right services running through it to fit directly into the building that's been proposed. So the robots are capable of picking and placing the electric services and the water services, and also putting together all of the contents of the assembly into the right places, ready for this panel to be picked up, put onto a truck, taken to site, and then assembled automatically into the structure of a building. Now, of course, being able to manufacture panels itself is not particularly useful unless we can rapidly form the volume of the structure itself. So what we're seeing here is a large industrial robot that we've developed that can detect where these large volumetric cubes are in space, so it can find a path to picking up these cubes and accurately positioning them on top of each other in order to start forming a large-scale structure. We've used laser scanning technology once again, both for safety, to make sure that nobody is in the perimeter of the machine whilst things are being moved around through the air, and also in order to allow the robot to understand both where its own payload is and where the payload needs to be placed. Not only is this a more efficient way of working than using craneage, once again, you're not using 6 people to do the job, but it's also safer. The laser ranging system is used in order to detect objects or people in the perimeter of the machine. If anyone's detected in the perimeter of the machine will automatically lock up and stop, but also it prevents damage from happening. Remember, these pick and place activities happen precisely and repeatably in such a way as to ensure that parts are installed precisely and repeatably every time. The process is also, for this reason, quicker than doing it manually. The robot can find its mark immediately within a short time scale. Now, you may look at this large robot and find it hard to imagine such a system on a construction site, and I'd agree, it would look slightly misfitting. However, how about this machine? Here's a JCB Hydrodig. Now, we've ported over these technologies and the techniques that I've discussed with the previous projects into the JCB Hydrodig, which of course is a machine much more adapted to be in a construction environment. We have effectively robotized this machine. What does that mean? Well, it means that we're able to control the machine as if it was an industrial robot. We've developed control techniques that we would usually use in the industrial robotics domain in order to be able to both remotely control the robot, to program various different movements on it, and also to augment the work of whoever is driving the system. So still, a human driver can use this machine to traverse across the site to get it to where it needs to be in order to do some work that requires a high level of precision, and then the driver assist robotic tools can take over. Now, that might be accurately picking in place a large-scale building component, or it could in fact be digging a trench to a very precise depth. Or let's imagine there's GPS data involved in looking at where underground infrastructure might be, and it's very important that we avoid that. All of these things are made possible by the work that the Construction Innovation Hub has been doing with this technology. This big yellow robot represents an evolution of the kind of plant that we can expect to see in the future.
At Mace, we talk about a vision for the sector that sees us moving from construction to production, increasing the industrialization, automation, and pre-manufactured value of the buildings and infrastructure across all sectors and all geographies. The construction sector is modernizing. Our application of off-site is growing, no doubt, but the use of robotics and automation to support us to do so still feels quite nascent within the industry. The Construction Innovation Hub is helping by developing, demonstrating, and transferring technology with a proven high level of established value already from other industries into the construction sector. A huge amount of work is being done by the team to break down the silos between the robotics and automation suppliers used for general manufacturing in factories and the construction equipment market and materials providers. We're really demonstrating what might be the art of possible for the sector. And there is an enormous amount to be gained by adopting this technology: skills, carbon, productivity. But it requires a fundamental change in the approach to how we construct, which is why the Hub's role is showing the way and providing a space for the industry to collaborate, which is proving to be very important.
The construction sector deal set some really challenging targets, reducing the time frame for putting buildings up by 50%, reducing their through life costs by a third, improving productivity, reducing the skills gap and improving exports from the UK. When the Construction Innovation Hub started, we viewed those targets as something that would really drive and move forward the sector through collaboration. We've been working with over 400 organisations who've come together to deliver what you've seen this afternoon, and without that collaboration this wouldn't be possible. We're hoping you can take away a level of confidence that even though those targets are difficult, we are starting to meet them, we are achieving them, and in places we're even exceeding them. So we really hope that you've enjoyed what you've seen here, and we want you to go away with the message that this is the start. We are moving forwards, but we need to work together to take things forward in the future.